likely to suffer oppression in their lifetimes and are I mean, it's 93% of work deaths. It's not 93% of women who get raped. It is not 80% of women who get raped. It is not 98% of women who get raped. No. So if that is a definition of oppression, again, men suffer much larger oppressions. It is a stupid, backwards way of thinking of oppression, and is it a stupid, backwards way of gaining support and sympathy from others. It is disgraceful. It is just disgraceful. Let's continue.
And women constituted 89% of all those who had experienced 4 or more incidents of domestic violence. This is just a few examples from the womensaid.org PDF document on domestic violence, and it can be very easily accessed on their website. It cites many, many documents and many, many statistics about sexual violence and domestic violence against women. And like I said, this is just the UK. It doesn't apply worldwide. And I can only imagine how much more significant those statistics are in countries that aren't as progressive as ours, I suppose you might say.
Yours isn't just progressive. And I can also imagine what these statistics would say. I can also imagine that the deaths and the pains of men suffered worldwide is more than twice or 3 times or 5 times as much. Men are the ones doing all the dying, while women are the ones getting raped. Yes, it is a sad, sad world we live in. You are not more important than I am. There is nothing in this world there's no one that can logically say that one is more important than the other. I'm sorry, I don't give a damn about rape any more than I do any form of violence. It is just not more important. It just isn't.
Does this sound like a world of gender equality to you?
In the world, no. In your country, yes. It is not equality. In the world, that is of course true. Why don't you take your fucking movement somewhere else? Why don't you stop attacking the men of this country, since we are not the ones doing the rape in fucking Afghanistan or Iraq? What is your point? Why do you hate me? Why do you hate us? Why do you hate the men that you encounter and your male friends through your actions? Why is it that you continuously disregard the oppression of men? Why is it that the movement that you claim to represent stomps over men everywhere? Your fellow males here in your country are suffering now because of you.
If you believe that women are equal, then you need to look around. You need to open your eyes and see the world of hypocrisy that we live in.
Yes, you need to look around, specifically in other countries. Far, 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 far away from your computer and your job and the country you live in and your neighborhood and your co-workers and your entire modern country. Far, far away. Yes, we do.
As for the equal pay thing, I can't comment, but I have read, in the past, and this isn't going to count because I'm not citing any sources, so you can feel free to discount what I say, because I understand it's not valid without anything to back it up.
It is not valid because every day, you and me and the people watching this video go to work with people of the opposite sex and earn the same amount of money. You know, there are many, many differences when it comes to the way men and women go about getting a job. But if you need someone to explain to you how these statistics are made, I'll be the one. I'll jump in. Let's take a study, any study that looks at, let's say, male and female oncologists. They both go to the same school. They study for the same amount of time. They both get jobs in their particular fields in the same state. But still, 5 years later, the man is making much more money than the woman is. And they practice the same type of medicine for the same amount of, let's say, the same amount of patients even. And still, they make different amounts of money. How is this possible? Well, see, here's the thing. Men are much more likely to open their own private practices. But See, the people doing the statistics conveniently forgot to mention that. So, women who are not likely to open their own private practices consequently make less money. This is not sexism. If a man decides to risk it and open his own practice, you're going to knock him down and say that he's being sexist because he risked more and then made more money? This is how statistics are botched. This is how they trick women and men into thinking that women are somehow oppressed. And men make many, many different choices. Men are more likely to work bad shifts during bad hours. Men are more likely to work in a job that you cannot emotionally unplug from. Like, for example, I don't know, a lawyer. Men are much more likely to work jobs in which they are exposed to the elements. Men are much more likely to have hazardous jobs. Men are much more likely to have jobs in technology or the hard sciences. Not to mention that men who work full-time work about 3 hours more than females who work more time. And this alone accounts for something like 70% of the pay gap. You have to understand that you cannot sit there and say that there is discrimination while you have a female co-worker to your right. Let's say you work at a call center. You have a female co-worker to your side who makes $10 an hour. You have a male co-worker to your left who makes $10 an hour. You make $10 an hour. Everybody does the same job. And still you come here to talk about discrimination like you know discrimination firsthand. You've never even seen it. No. You have to go out of your way to find some obscure study and do some mental gymnastics so that others can have pity for you. It's sad.
But the fact of the matter is, it has been proven before that women are still generally receiving less pay than men. Not in every company, not everywhere, but on a whole, on average.
Yes, in some obscure study that you have to dig around and do like 30 mental gymnastics in order to believe. I've explained why, and I've explained before in other videos. I mean, Walmart alone could save something like $2 million a day if they hired only women. However, they don't. How is it a company that will go as far as to hiring child labor, if you follow the history of Walmart, will not hire more women? Why would they do that? It'd be a plus. No one can sue them. Because men are more likely to work longer hours, worse shifts, and do more work. I mean, look, I try to be as equal as I can with women. I completely believe that women, if they put their heads to it, they can make as much money as men. But the fact is, when there's lifting involved, yeah, we're going to be the preferred sex. And there's nothing sexist about that. I'll challenge any woman to a lift-a-thon, whatever.
That's the way it is. My issue with this whole thing is that the people out there that have a problem with feminism, I understand.
No, you don't.
I understand if you have a problem.
No, you don't.
Because we are in many ways very poorly represented, especially on the internet, which is where most people get their information.
No, my problem is with you specifically. As in, with the passive-aggressive feminist. Not you as a YouTuber, but you as a passive-aggressive, supposed to be nice feminist. The feminists who go out there and say all men are rapists and say all the bullshit, to me it's like scribble on a stall. I don't really pay attention to it because they may not all have any power. However, there are a lot of very, very prominent feminists who have said many misandric things and are much more feminist than you are. How many organizations have you funded or led in your life? What have you done that makes you more of a feminist than let's say, you know, any other of the VAWA leaders? What? You're not special. The best that you've done is make a channel about feminism. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know, making a YouTube channel about the things you believe in. But you're not a leader. You hold no position. You are not an important piece of the feminist dogma. It's ridiculous to want to take this position as if you hold any power. You don't.
But your problem isn't with feminism. It's just not. Your problem is with misandry. Your problem is with the hatred of men. Your problem is with militant feminists who are not feminists as far as I'm concerned. They are misandrists, and they are awful people. They're just as bad as sexists. In fact, they are sexist, but they're just as bad as misogynists, because they're the same. And I'm so sick of feminists being poorly represented, but poorly portrayed as well by the media.
Okay, here we go. So it's not really that they're bad feminists out there. It's that they're being poorly portrayed. You could have said that in a whole different way, but you set it up as to seem that you're actually going to put down bad feminists, the so-called bad feminists. But now you're going to twist it and say, oh no, they're being misrepresented, right? No. No. Here's a test. Do this to any feminist. Have her explain to you why it's okay for men to not be allowed in domestic violence shelter. Within 5 minutes, the misandry will come spewing out of her mouth. They cannot help themselves. The phrase is, because all men are violent. The children of women who have been supposedly abused, because remember, yelling, slamming doors, or so much as denying her money is domestic abuse, are not allowed in domestic violence shelters. Little fucking boys are not allowed in domestic violence shelters. And I don't care what you say. I think it's if you're under 12, you're allowed or something like that. Look, if you're 13 or 14, in my eyes, you're still a little boy. You can't hurt anybody. And it's especially funny that women who are not only as strong as men, but even stronger, cannot deal with a fucking 14-year-old. Supposing that he's actually violent.
By people on YouTube, I've seen the videos. Videos by people that I like, videos by people that I subscribe to, and making comments that I find incredibly ignorant and upsetting.
Well, because of that, I'm making this video. I want to take you, the passive-aggressive feminist, and bring out the misandry in you. This is important. Women like you are the ones who are going to make feminism a very, very tough thing to take down. Because you seem nice, and on the surface, you almost want to believe you. I took me a long time to actually, come up with this video, because I felt that you actually had a problem with feminism, but at some point, someone has to expose feminists. And the passive-aggressive feminist inherently is the worst of the movement. They are the bottom of the barrel. They are the scum of the earth.
The internet is already a breeding ground for sexism. That's been proven. But some of the videos and comments floating around on YouTube they're just beyond despicable, and quite frankly, beyond ignorant as well. And we should be doing better than that. Anonymity breeds hatred, it would seem. Isn't that sad? Believing in equality between the sexes is not a joke. Despite what you think, it's not a joke.
Nobody thinks it's a joke. People think that feminism is a joke because it does not breed equality. It breeds a preference for women. I don't know who you're talking to in parts of this video. Nobody thinks sexual equality is a joke. Nobody does.
Feminism isn't a joke. Misandry is a joke. I hate misandry just as much as you do. But people need to understand the difference between those two things. They are completely different ideologies. They are completely different systems of belief.
And why is it that they're so well meshed? Why is it that they're so interchangeable? Why is it that a feminist has never been ousted for hate speech against men by other feminists? Not by the media. I'm talking about by other feminists. When they sit there on a podium and say, well, men will eventually be breeded out of society, as has been done, there are no protests. Nobody says anything. Why is it that it is so acceptable? Why would you want to be part of a movement? And more importantly, why would you want to be part of a movement that has such a history? Why call your